happy people, it's Tracy Reed here today coming at you with this fun recipe layout using the Cocoa Daisy Umber and Gold collection. You can see this cut file that I created and cut out using diamond glitter cardstock from Cardstock Warehouse. It's hard to see the glitteriness on screen, but let me tell you, it is beautiful. So I created this 3 stacked pumpkins layout, and I was going to paper piece the background, but I decided that these specific patterns in the Cocoa Daisy collection would not be very conducive to paper piecing on such a small scale. So instead I'm going to take this mixed media background and I'm going to back the pumpkins with the mixed media background, and I think that is going to look really cool. A lot of this cut file is going to be covered up, so I don't need to be too picky about that middle piece especially, but I do really like the way that the middle piece came out. Bummer. So I used some liquid glue to stick it to the cardstock, and then I cut it out by hand around the outside edges, and you can see how fun that came out. So I did steal this photo off of the internet. That is not my photo, but I was making pumpkin chocolate chip muffins because hello fall, it's pumpkin spice season. And so I wanted to, I don't know if I'm going to create a recipe album specifically, but I did want to document this recipe that is delicious. My kids, I made like 3 dozen and they're almost gone, and I made them like yesterday or the day before. My kids really like them. I'm going to use this library card. There's a bunch of library cards in the Umber and Gold collection, and I really like the way that this brown, like this taupey brown, played off of the rest of the layout. So I'm going to use that, and I initially put it down here, but I'm going to change up the way that I'm going to scrapbook this here in a second because I found a die cut of a fox, and you will see here in a second how adorable the die cut of the fox looks on this page. I just had to incorporate him, which doesn't seem to make much sense considering it's a pumpkin muffin recipe page, but you'll see here in a second. So I wanted to incorporate this all things pumpkin, and look, he is looking over the edge of the photo and he almost looks like he is smelling the muffins. How adorable is that? Okay, so I needed to incorporate him, but it was too wide the way that I had set it up before, so I took it apart, and I'm going to make sure that I get my fox situated the way that he needs to be so I can build the rest of the layout around him. Okay, so it's just wide enough as a page to fit that whole thing. So I'm going to reposition where I put this library card because I want to be able to see it, but I couldn't hang it off the other edge. See, now it's still too low. So I'm going to, here in a second, reposition it again so that it sticks out a little bit higher from the top of the photo. I'm using the clear plastic plaid pocket that came in the, I believe, the Memory Keeping Traveler's Notebook collection to store my recipe. But first, I need to figure this side out. Okay, let's pull this up, and all right, I've got it a little bit higher here so it sticks out a little bit more. I still end up covering up more of it than I want to, but whatever, what can you do? So I'm going to put this down at the bottom at first, and then it's going to get moved when I add in my title. I'm going to add this little heart guy right here, and then some flowers, flower leaves. So I want to use this pumpkin with the leaves because it is not quite pumpkin season as far as like actual pumpkins go. But I'm making pumpkin muffins, so I wanted to incorporate pumpkins as much as possible. So we're going to incorporate this die cut as well. Gonna sort of anchor the pocket with the pumpkin die cut and this fall favorites. I thought about covering up the whole like center of that pocket because I don't really love the way that my writing looks like peeking out from behind the plaid, but I decided instead to put it in the bottom corner because I liked the way that that looked on the whole better. Okay. So now I got to decide what to do on the other side to sort of build up the impact that this pocket has. So I'm going to mat it on a couple of different 3x4 cards from the collection. I like that heart one. I thought about instead using this paper strip that I had left over from from the cutting out the pumpkins, but it didn't quite look right. I didn't want to cut into another paper, but I did anyway because I liked the way that those stripes looked. So I'm going to offset it just a little bit more so we get the full effect of those stripes. And now I can stick the whole thing down, and it has a little bit more oomph than it did when it was just the pocket. I'm going to use these fun alphabets. I love this font so much, to add family recipe to the bottom here. And then I'm going to move this all things pumpkin because all of the words, the big words, were at the bottom of the spread, and I didn't like the way that that looked. So I'm going to put this here instead. That way the words are on a different eye line. And then I wanted to incorporate this other fox, and I believe he came from the printables because I liked the idea of having more than one fox. I thought it made more sense if there was more than one. It made more sense visually if there was more than one. So he's sort of looking up at the family recipe, so I thought that that was good. Gonna add in an arrow, but not this one, to the bottom underneath that family recipe. I liked the idea of that knife and fork die cut too, but it just was too much. It didn't look right with the theme of the layout, so I'm gonna put something, or I'm just gonna take it off. Okay, so I'm gonna use this arrow. Thought about putting it over here, but it's going to go right here under this family recipe. I like it just like as an underline rather than like the concept of an arrow. I just thought it finished off that cluster pretty well, even though it is an arrow. But it points back to the photo, so it works. Gonna use the little hearts before they get lost in my stash forever. 3, because I always like clusters of 3. Cute. So this is coming together well. It's just about done. I'm going to add in this word bit to the tab. It says made with love. So of course that's perfect. I used one of the planner papers that came in the classified memory keeping collection for this spread because I like the branches at the top, but I also just really like how neutral the whole paper was. I thought it was a good way to show off the rest of this spread without distracting. The last thing I'm going to do is add these 2 leafy clusters to the top and the bottom of my pumpkin die cut. I thought he was kind of floating out there on the top and the bottom, and he needed some anchoring. So we're going to do that with die cuts, and then we are good to go. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I would love to see you over there as well. And if you're interested in subscribing to Coco Daisy, there is a link in the description box below. And I will see you next time. All right, thank you.